Welcome to all of you, where we're discussing about the sources of human capital formation. First, we take expenditure on investment on education. The question that comes to us is, why do people invest on education? What is the objective of people in spending their money on education? So various objectives are there. The first one, increase the future income. If you study well, if you get education more, your skill and the knowledge and the experience will enhance you to increase the future income. Second one, if you invest on education or spend on education, more number of educated people will make the more production, and the productivity of the economy will increase and promotes economic growth. More number of highly educated people, highly economic development is possible. It's a direct proportionate. To increase more productive force. So, education makes ordinary human being into an extraordinary human being by increasing the productive capacity. Therefore, education improves the productive force. Education endow with increased knowledge and skill. Of course, education always increases the skill and the knowledge of an individual. Not only that, education also improves the scope of his thinking, the scope of his idea. So therefore, the employment opportunities and income generating activities will be widened for a highly educated person. A highly knowledgeable and skilled person can increase his wider scope of work. He can get into different professions easily. And in India, investment on education is 2.7%, which is less than 3% of GDP in past 5 years, which is comparatively less than other underdeveloped countries too. Therefore, investment, this is a 2 marks question what we have discussed, and we will continue with the 4 mark question. Investment or expenditure on education is an important source of human capital formation. Expenditure on education is one of the important source of human capital formation. Why? Because investment on education stimulates means it is like a dosage, extra dosage it gives for economic development. So how? The first one, it raises the productivity of human being. How? A knowledgeable and skilled worker can work better and use his skills and capacities to make use of the resources that is under his disposal. It will increase the production of the economy too. An educated and trained person can apply his knowledge and skill at farm, at firm, at factory, and at office to increase the production of respective places. So, it increases or it generates more technical skills and creates a manpower. Education increases the technical skills and manpower, which is suitable for improving labor productivity. It thus results in an ever and lasting economic development. So an economic development will not end for a shorter period of time. If you invest on education, it will be a long-lasting development for a country. So the investment on education raises the efficiency of laborer or productivity of laborer. How? Investment on education increases the efficiency and productivity, hence it will give more income or high income to the people. It also brings positive attitudes and outlooks in the life of human beings. Investment on education brings positive outlooks and attitudes, ethics in human life. The knowledgeable and skilled persons or people have a modern outlook and attitudes that they make rational choice. They are not moved by the passions and their respective places and jobs. They inspire others, motivate, improve, and always they being positive, at the same time focused, and they encouraged creativity. Thus, these are the one of the beautiful importance of education. Education not only does all these things, it also does an improvement in the quality of life. Education improves the quality of life by providing better job, better income, better health. It results in the better standards of living. Thus, it improves the quality of life. A highly educated person will make less number of children in his home. Thus, the birth rate of the country comes down. A high investment, highly educated people will not have more number of children. It will decline the population, high population. Thus, more number of people will have more resources now, because lesser growth in the population will make the resource available to the person better. Thus, a social benefits also increases. Thus, investment in education leads to higher returns, higher growth, higher income in the future too. From here, if you move on to the next source of human capital formation, that is expenditure on health or expenditure or investment on health, it is another source of human capital formation. In India, expenditure on health is very, very low compared to other countries. If you have seen the chart, you can develop. So in India, the private spending is more and public spending is less. So what are the expenditure on health? So there are various types of health expenditure. First, preventive medicine, or we call it as vaccination. Preventive medicine means before we get sick, we get a medicine that prevents us not being sick. They are called as preventive medicines. Example, nowadays we are suffering from, the society is suffering from corona disease. So before the corona enters your body, you get the vaccination to cure such diseases if they attack you. So the antibodies, so the vaccination is made to you so that you can have a positive energy to prevent all kinds of diseases from your body. That is called as preventive medicine. Next, curative medicine. After getting sick, you get treatment to cure the disease, is called as curative medicine. So it is a medical intervention because this disease is continuing, so medicine comes in between to cure you. Therefore, it is called as curative medicine during illness or sickness. Other expenditures like social medicines like spreading awareness or spreading health literacy. So nowadays in the society, they spread an awareness to wear masks, use sanitizers, and being safe and hygienic. And also the other expenditures happens for safe drinking water, to have a sanitization. For all these things, expenditures are made to have a better health. So why do we invest on health? Investment on health facilitates to build a physically as well as a mentally strong human capital, which is essential for the productivity. So, to have a highly efficient human capital to increase the productivity means first he should have health. If he has a health which is physical as well as mental, which increases the human productivity. So, health expenditure is directly proportionate in increasing the supply of healthy labor force. A high expenditure on health increases the healthy labor force more. So, thus, a higher expenditure on health brings higher growth on human capital formation. It is said, a healthy person is an asset to a nation. Healthy person is an asset to a nation. A sick person is not an asset to the nation because he is unable to work efficiently with his bad health. Thus, health infrastructure is a source of human capital formation. So next, people spend or invest on job training, especially firm as well as people. So, job training is provided by firms. Most often, the job training is given by the companies, the factories, or the firms. To whom? To the new workers. So, the new workers, they are called as employees. Why do the training is given to them? For the workers, the training is given to them to enhance, to double their skills and to do the work more efficiently and more betterly. So therefore, the workers may be trained in the firms under a skillful supervisor. So training of workers happens by the employer under a skillful observator. A superior who is highly skilled person will train them to get into their work better and do their work more efficiently. Sometimes it also happens, the training happens off-campus training also. People are sent, the workers are sent for off-campus training. It is both beneficiary for the employer as well as to the employee. We will see first how it is beneficial to the employee or the worker. On job training, it is important factor which increases the productivity of worker or laborer. So, in the job training, the worker will absorb means get more skill, knowledge about new technology and modern ideas. Once he gets connected to all these things, absorbs, his productivity is enhanced. So he can learn more, earn more, and lead more. It leads to train and employees to get acquire more acquainted with their workers, co-workers. So training will help them to get adjusted, to come to know about each other, about their workers, co-workers. Training also helps under the supervisor and managers to assess the progress of the employee in a shorter period of time. So they will come to know how much they are able to work, how much they can reach, so how much is their real capacity. And finally, it will help them to overcome their problems. It will help them to overcome their shortcomings and rectify the mistakes, the fouls done by the worker, so that it will not be further happens in the future. Before explaining the expenditure on investment on migration, expenditure or investment on migration, how does it benefit the employer? The expenditure on the job training as well as the output produced by the worker in the future is larger. The output and the expenditure done by the employer, if you both compare, the output produced by the employee, the worker, is greater than the expenditure done by the worker. Thus, employer or the owner spends on the job training of the worker. With that, we will take a next look at the investment on migration. People move from one place to another place in search of job or a better job. People always make a move. When they make a move from one place to another place in search of a job or a better job, there is always an expenditure. We have seen this one. When people move from rural area to urban area in search of some work, as well as highly technocrats, highly knowledgeable scholars move from India to a foreign abroad for a better salaries, a better high pay, a better chunk of income. This is how they make movement from one place to another place. When they move from one place to another place, there is an expenditure. This expenditure involves first expenditure on transport, expenditure on the high cost of living in the migrated place, because when the villager move to the urban area, expenditure is more here. You have to purchase everything. The rice, the dal, etc., etc. And the prices of them is very high in the towns. As well as when a person moves from India to abroad, the cost of living is very, very high in the migrated place. Third, the psychic cost of living in the strange socio-cultural setup. What does it mean? It means the cost of living in a new place for the new circumstances, to get adjusted to that is having high cost. Especially the dress code, the social setup, the cultural living of the new place or the migrated place has more cost than the previous place where we have lived in, that is our homeland. So thus, the cost is three types. One is transfer cost, the other one is cost of living in the migrated place is very high, and also the cost incurred on psychic in a strange socio-cultural setup. So even then there is a cost, people migrate to a new place. Why? Because the returns in that place is very high.